Welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking about healing at distance. In my last video I was talking about using my cables or your cables, your hands to touch people. But what if you're only in virtual contact on the internet, as I am with you, or speaking to somebody on the phone, or they're just watching a video? Is healing possible through these means? Now, Jesus, in his earthly ministry, marvelled twice in 3.5 years. He marvelled at the faith of a Roman centurion who asked Jesus to heal his servant. This is in Matthew 8 and verses 5 to 10. The Roman centurion said to Jesus, "I'm not worthy you come under my roof. You just speak the word and my servant will be healed." And Jesus marvelled. The centurion had understood what very few evangelical Christians understand today. He knew the meaning of authority. He knew that when the words of healing, probably Jesus would quote some scripture, like Isaiah 53, and when Jesus spoke those words into the air, the prince of the power of the air, Ephesians 2:2, which is the devil, of course, would have to obey and take the infirmity of his servant. Now, if we know someone who's sick, the best thing to do is visit them in person if you can. But if that's not possible, make a decree. And if you know how to use the courts of heaven, here's my course on that. I've got volume 1 and volume 2. And if you know how to use the courts, you can make a decree of healing so that the person is healed. Heaven operates like a court. And if you would like to know how to get those books, leave a comment in the below the video when you've watched it. Now, my wife and I also go in the spirit to sick people. My wife taught me how to do this. I just read in John G. Lake's book. He was in South Africa, in Cape Town, and somebody had telegrammed him. It was before the internet. Somebody had telegrammed saying there was a very, very sick woman in Wales suffering with insanity. And so John G. Lake knelt down in his church in Cape Town and he took off. He went the whole continent of Africa and arrived in Europe, found the little hospital in Wales, and there was that sick girl strapped down on her hospital bed. He laid hands on her, commanded the spirit of insanity to come out of her, and he came back in his body in Cape Town, received the telegram. A few days later, the girl was discharged. She was healed. Now, I told my wife that, and she said, "Well, I've done that." I said, "Oh, really?" She said, "Yeah, I've got a friend in Toulon," and she rang me one night and said, "There's a very, very sick man in Calais, or near Calais, which is in the north of France." Now, Toulon is in the south of France. And so Ronnie said, "Okay, we'll pray." And she left her body, Ronnie did, went the whole of the country from the south of France to the north of France, found this hospital in the spirit and saw this man, Alan, in the hospital bed, and in the same room, in his room, was a spirit of death. Ronnie rebuked the spirit of death, laid hands on Alan, who she didn't even know, and commanded healing, and a couple of days later he was discharged. A few years later, I personally met this man when Ronnie was meeting her friend in Toulon. The Apostle Paul told the believers in the church of Colossians that although he wasn't with them in person, his spirit was there with them. Colossians 2 verse 5. Now, the Apostle Paul meant this literally. He could see what was going on in the church and some of the things he didn't approve of. In a similar way, the prophet Elisha saw his servant Gehazi run after Naaman the leper to get money and clothes from him when Elisha had refused a ministry gift. You find that in 2 Kings 5:16. Elisha could hear and see Gehazi. He said, "Where have you been?" "I've not been anywhere." And Elisha said to him, "Did not my spirit go with you when the man turned from his chariot to meet you?" 2 Kings 5 and verse 25. Now, people in the New Age and other occult activities use astral travel. That is a counterfeit form of this gift. But this gift, available to us as Christians, we must understand that God is supernatural. We can do this. We can also use handkerchiefs, as Paul did in Acts 19, verse 11 and 12. Send them by post to sick folks. And I'd love to hear any testimonies of success in that area. If you are at a loss as to what to do, pray in tongues, and you pray the perfect will of God. Romans 8:27. Pray in tongues until you feel peace and you know you prayed the perfect will of God. Remember that God is supernatural, and don't limit him by saying, "Well, I can't visit you." Don't limit God. You can heal people at distance. Pray in your heavenly language and let God give you the ability to conceive the impossible as possible. That's what the supernatural does. God's supernatural will heal when you're present to touch people and when you're not present. So practice these gifts. Don't just think, "Well, I couldn't do that." I thought that when Ronnie first told me what she'd done to her friend Alan in the north of France. But now I can do it. So when I hear of people who are sick, I travel and visit them in the spirit, and I go and lay hands on them, speak healing over them, cast demons out of them, and this can be done in dreams as well. So all things are possible if you can believe.